Hey everyone. So now we're going to do a bit of an advanced lesson. We just went over updating some stuff. We're doing kind of more general web development knowledge here. This one's a bit more advanced. You don't strictly have to know this, but it's something that you're going to get introduced to pretty quick if you start down the road of web development. And especially if you start to work with other people, like if you're working on some kind of group project that might involve other developers at some point. This is going to be a good thing to know. So we're going to talk about version management and how you save different versions of your code. How developers generally do this is using a thing called Git. So Git is this tool that we install into our computers and allows us to like save the code at different versions. We basically tell Git to save the code when it looks like this, and then we make some changes and we tell it to save it, and now it looks like this. So you can imagine, like, if you add some new feature, then you tell it to save. It still has it when you didn't have that feature, just in case something breaks down the line and you need to get that feature out quickly and re-upload a working version. You still have that version saved somewhere using this tool called Git. Another really useful thing about Git is that it lets you have like parallel versions of your code. You're working on some new feature, especially if it's something really complicated that you're trying to add to your site. It might take you a little while to update it. And in that time, when you're working on that, maybe over a couple weeks, there might come in some more urgent request that you need to make some change right now. Like you need to change the background color, or you need to change, like the logo or something like that. And you need to do it right now. Well, you can just switch from the version where you're working on your new feature back to the current live version, make your change, upload your changes, and switch back to your new feature version. And then later on, you can merge them together so that they all are up to date and stuff. As you can imagine, a system like this can get really complicated really quickly. Even just mentioning, oh, you merge them back, and then it has to know like which changes are the newer ones and which overwrites which. It gets very complicated very quick. But this is a tool that's really, really, really important to web developers. And without this, like working in teams would be almost impossible, because you can imagine if I'm working on a feature and you're working on a different feature and you upload something and I upload something and we overwrite each other in some way, it's going to be a real mess to try to figure that out. So Git is kind of the system we use to figure all that out. So Git itself, this actual thing called Git, is run from the command line, generally speaking. So that means that we open up either PowerShell or Terminal or something like that, and we type in some commands and run it. I'm assuming in this course that you have never used the command line and that it's very unfamiliar to you. So I'm not going to make you use Git, and I'm going to give you another alternative that still is using Git, but it's through an interface so that you don't have to use the command line. But I'm going to make you probably use the command line a little bit in 5 or 6 lessons from now. So get prepared anyway mentally for using the command line. And if you're brave and you want to get into using the command line, you can try installing Git. There's this website here. If you just Google install Git, you'll come to this site, and there's some stuff that you can type into your command line, and it has installing on Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. And some of them you download, some of them you install, and then there's some information about how to use it. Now, we don't just use Git and that's it. We also upload our, what are called repositories when we make a thing in Git, like one of these collections of all the versions of the code. We call them repos, repositories, and we generally upload them to a system like github.com. This is my company GitHub account, and you can see I have 105 repositories. That's like 105 different projects, basically, that are uploaded in here, and all of those have lots of versions, different things saved, different people have worked on them, and you'll really commonly see this. The reason I've had chart.js open here is that up in the top right, they have a link to their GitHub. So if you go to their GitHub, this is the chart.js like files, and they're all here. They're all listed here. All the files, you can go into the folders and look at them. You can see the changes. You can see here they have all like 4,000 what we call commits, which are just different. You did something, you made a change, then you commit it to this repository and save it in GitHub. And this kind of keeps all our code up onto a server somewhere, up saved on the cloud, so that, I'm not just making a GitHub repository, saving it on my computer, and hoping my computer doesn't, break or get destroyed by water or something. And also, I'm not like uploading it to like, I don't know, Google Drive or something. Like, this is built for code and many types of code, not just JavaScript. Like, all types of stuff is stored in GitHub. There's lots and lots of projects here in GitHub. Now, GitHub, being the website, isn't the same as Git. It's different. It's a hub for Git users, as you can imagine. So GitHub does have this program, GitHub Desktop. I used this at the very start when I was very uncomfortable with using Git. Now I only use Git by the command line because I've become familiar with it. But this is a great place to start. So if you're interested and you feel like this is something that you're going to have to learn, like whatever your path is to being a web developer, if you're thinking beyond just doing a project or two for interest's sake or for a very specific purpose, you should probably try out GitHub Desktop. You can make an account on GitHub. It's all free and everything. They do have a paid plan, but it's only, you won't need that. You really won't need that for a very, very long time. And then you have GitHub Desktop, and you'll be able to find some good tutorials out there on connecting them all. I don't really want to go over it in too much detail because it is a really big rabbit hole that gets very complicated very fast. But some of the terms that you'll want to know, are things like repository, this thing called a commit. There's also something called a branch, which is that parallel, making a parallel version. You can imagine a repository being a whole collection of these different branches, which have to come back together in different places, and it gets really crazy a lot of the time when you're doing stuff with Git with a lot of people. It really takes a lot of careful organization and project management. But if you want to give it a try, you can try creating an account. Then you can go to repositories and you can say new repository, and then you can create a name for it, give it a little description, and then create the repository. And there'll be some instructions in there on how you can start by putting your code up there. And that way you'll have your code locally, and you'll also have it up on this cloud. And then once you get really advanced, there's ways to connect in what's happening on GitHub to actually go to whatever, your servers. So that when you put something up on GitHub, it will just put it on the website somewhere. So it all starts to get all integrated together. There's actually one other term that I forgot to mention, which is pushing. So when you do a commit, or you save some change in your code, and then you want to put it up on GitHub, we call that pushing to GitHub. So that's just another little term that's useful to know. So don't try to become an expert in everything right away. Don't go too far into this. Just know it's going to be on your roadmap. You can give it a little try, give it a whirl, see if you can make it make sense. But if it's frustrating, if you get confused, don't worry yourself about it. You will get there eventually. So that's it for this section. Now we're actually going to dive into web mapping in the next bit. So you've done great. You've come along. You've learned a lot about coding, making sites, saving code, running stuff on your computer. It's all going to be pretty fun from here and actually building cool stuff. So we'll see you in the next one.